Hello. Today I will be demonstrating how ridiculous fifth job is in treating shade. The original concept of the shade class was to have no buffs. However, I will now list out all of the buffs that shades have. Starting from first to fourth job, they have a total of one buff, Maple Warrior. In the hyper skills, they have the level 150 hyper, Spirit Bond Max. They have the level 200 hyper, Heroic Memories. Okay. So from first job to the level 200, you have a total of 3 buffs. Moving forward, we all know that Shades have a slow attack speed. Knuckle is a fast 5 attack speed weapon. Therefore, Shades need both the +1 attack speed inner ability and decent speed infusion in order to get to the fastest attack speed possible, that is a hard cap of faster 0. Therefore, they must cast DSI. And in addition to that, Shades also have an inherently low critical percentage. One of the lowest, in fact, with only 20% base crit. Therefore, decent sharp eyes is also a vital buff. So far, going into level 200, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 total buffs that we need to cast. Now, going into fifth job, we have Spirit Flow, which is the fifth job skill that lasts for 30 seconds with a 2-minute cooldown. And in addition to that, we have the General Pirate fifth job skill, Roll of the Dice, which is a 2-minute buff that can be reset by Spirit Flow, but it is a buff nevertheless, and it does have a noteworthy delay to its animation. So as you can see, up till now, not including the Beyond skills, we have a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 buffs that you need to cast. Now, of course, keep in mind that in a realistic situation, you will also need to cast the Angelic Buster, the Angelic Buster Link skill to maximize your DPS. I can't understate the benefit of the Angelic Buster Link skill because if you have Bind, Split, both used at the same time, Angelic Buster's Link skill will multiply your damage 2-3-fold because of the way Split works. So therefore, I would say that for endgame bossing, Angelic Buster's Link skill is almost mandatory. However, because of the ubiquity of the skill, I'm going to exclude that from the comparison. I will allow for one caveat, that is, there are pets, and for Shades, they can put Maple Warrior onto a pet buff. Therefore, I will subtract out Maple Warrior, and that leaves us with 6 total buffs. Moving forward, we have Aran. From first job to fourth job, Aran has 3 buffs that they need to cast. Oh, I'm sorry, 4 buffs. Maple Warrior, Polearm Booster, Ice Charge, and Maha Blessing. Going into the hyper skills, we have Adrenaline, a level 150 hyper skill, level 200 hyper skill. Now, going into up to level 200, the only decent skill that Aran's I would say need is decent Sharp Eyes for the critical damage. Aran's do not have 100% crit unless they have a lot of combos, and so in order to ensure that they have a high critical rate as well as a boosted critical damage at all times, I would say that decent Sharp Eyes would be a very beneficial buff. even more vital than Maha Blessing, I would almost say. Therefore, I'm going to count it as a buff for Aran. Now, moving forward, in fifth job, Arans have their fifth job skill and the warrior fifth job skill, both of which are buffs. Now, again, in a realistic situation, you will have Maple Warrior, Booster, and Maha Blessing on your pets. Therefore, these three buffs are automatically buffed for you, and you never have to cast them. And therefore, I'm not going to count them in the comparison. Now, keep in mind that for errands, they will most likely have for the ideal errand, your perfect inner ability is +1 attack speed on the first line, followed by 38% buff on the second line. I understand that this is not an achievable inner ability for a lot of people. However, we're talking about in an ideal scenario, endgame, after if you decide to main this character that you're going to play it for years on end, that you're never going to quit it. I feel like over the course of 3 to 5 years, this inner ability is feasible, and that it should be a goal that dedicated individuals should strive for. Now, why am I bringing this up? Because with a high buff duration, that's going to make it so Maple Warrior lasts over 20 minutes, thus rendering it basically a toggle. Therefore, I'm going to exclude that from the comparison for Aran. In addition, Ice Charge is only effective for some bosses, and for the majority of endgame bosses does not affect Aran's damage output. It is merely a buff that affects damage against mobbing, which in an endgame scenario becomes irrelevant. Therefore, with that reasoning, I'm going to eliminate it from the comparison as well. Therefore, with all of these caveats being accounted for, our total accumulated buff count for Aran becomes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 total buffs. However, again, like I said, these two buffs are automatically casted. You would never have to cast these buffs ever if you were to put them on a pet. And given that most players would own 2 to 3 pets, even in reboot, I feel like these buffs should not be accounted for because you never have to cast them. That is unlike all of the buffs mentioned here that has more buffs than Aran. After reviewing this video, I understand that some information has been assumed to be known by everyone. However, I understand that that is not the case, and that people come into MapleStory with various degrees of knowledge, and that I should not discriminate against the lesser experienced. Therefore, I will explain some of the intermediary thoughts that I had to take into consideration. First, and most importantly, is the attack speed discrepancy that was mentioned earlier. As stated before, Shade's Knuckle is inherently a fast 5 weapon. The hard cap, the maximum speed for any weapon, is faster 0. Therefore, in order to get Shade's weapon to the faster 0 speed, we need to reduce its 5 stages down to 0 stages. So how is that done? Spirit Bond 2, the second job skill for Shade, reduces it by 1. So now we're at 4. Decent Speed Infusion reduces it by another 1. Now we're at 3. The Green Monster Park Extreme Potion reduces it by 1. Now we're at 2. The level 150 hyper skill Spirit Bond Max reduces it by 1. That's the skill, by the way. It reduces it by 1. Now we're at 1. And finally, the +1 attack speed inner ability reduces it by 1. That with these 5 separate boosts, we're at the faster 0. And between these two, the buffs that you need to cast are DSI and the level 150 hyper skill. That is why decent speed infusion is mandatory, because in order to reach the maximum attack speed cap, you need to have this extra source of attack speed in order to boost it to the maximum attack speed cap. If you don't have Shade attacking at the maximum attack speed, not only are you reducing the amount of liver drops that you get for the level 150 hyper, but you are also dramatically reducing your damage output and as well as your overall comfort in gameplay. For Aran, endgame polearms such as the Fafnir polearm and the Absolat polearm, and as well as the level 200 polearm that we're getting in the future, begin at fast 5, just like the Knuckle. Now, again, we want to reduce this to the faster 0 speed, which is done as such. The booster, polearm booster, will reduce it by 2 stages, leaving us at 3. The inner ability will reduce it by 1. So now we're at faster 2. The green monster part extreme potion will reduce it by 1. Now we're at 1. And finally, combo combat ability. I apologize for not knowing the name, but Aran's combat ability, one of the passive skills from second or fourth job, I'm not sure which, also reduces it by 1, leaving us at 0. Between these 4 sources of attack speed, we don't need to cast any buffs. Assuming that you can put booster on a pet, none of these buffs need to be casted. The Green Monster Park Extreme Potion is a potion, it is not a buff. It comes with no animation and only requires a single button press and lasts for 30 minutes. So even if we're not just talking about endgame bossing situations, you can see that to reach maximum attack speed, you would need to activate 2 buffs for Shade, whereas you don't need to activate any buffs for Aran. What does this mean? It means that for an Aran, assuming that you can have 2 pets, you can put booster on one and then Maha blessing on the other pet. And that would make it so from the second you log in, you are already fully buffed for mobbing at the fastest attack speed you can be at. If there's anything that you did not understand or that you may disagree with, please respond promptly. I hope for this to open a discussion about general buffing, and I want to hear your personal opinions about this subject matter. And I appreciate any feedback that you may have. I hope you have a good winter season, and goodbye.